Hello, welcome back to Calliope Music Reviews. My name is Colin, and this is Canon. And today we have another important release to talk about with the third studio album from the UK art rock and chamber pop outfit, and a bunch of other genres as well. Black Country New Road. The album is called Forever Howlong and is the band's first studio project since their universally adored 2022 album, Ants from Up There. This also marks the group's second project since the departure of lead singer and guitarist Isaac Wood, who was a major force in the band's songwriting up until his withdrawal in January of 2022. While Wood's songwriting steered the band towards an anxious blend of Slint-esque post-rock and Arcade Fire chamber pop dynamics, the six-piece has shifted focus towards a more friendly progressive pop sound to great success as seen in their 2023 live album, Live at Bush Hall. That brings us to the newest installment, Forever How Long, featuring the group's most diverse mix of songwriters and a much brighter, congenial direction overall. Other than the fact that the band has decided on three different lead vocalists for this album, being Tyler Hyde, Mary Kershaw, and Georgia Ellery, the most instantly recognizable aspect of the record is its wonderfully wistful soundscape of woodwind, mandolin, and harpsichord alongside the band's typical saxophone harmonics and guitar-driven melodies. When all of these components mingle under warm tones, the album supplies a distinct fairy tale feel, like frolicking through the bright green fields of the British countryside. There are also a few more artsy elements, like the tense but bright piano keys, spindly guitar doodles, and overall soft rock palette that reminds me a little of an early 70s David Bowie, and I'm not just saying that because they all have British accents. But to add to the British inspiration of the record, there's also plenty of progressive rock flavor in this too, like a feathery version of A Gentle Giant when Mary Kershaw or Tyler Hyde match the cadence of the stepping piano and tic-tac drumming like on Salem Sisters and For the Cold Country. Now, I can't say all of these movements work perfectly, especially on the more reserved tracks, Mary and Forever How Long, the title track. But this more subtle focus on Baroque instrumentation juxtaposes fantastically with the elastic guitars, helping bring in these nice wooden textures that make the entire sound quite homey and comforting. Although the group still has the capacity to be dramatic when brawny organ meets burly kicks and sharp string jabs like on Socks and Nancy Tries to Take the Night, the overall sound is uplifting and warm, a true springtime delivery to help the flowers grow. I do think the record peters out a bit towards the end, getting a bit too airy and empty on the last two tracks, but for the most part, the delicacy works in the album's favor, especially impressive when it's balancing so many vocalists and songwriting influences. And I have to give some of this credit to the crisp and clear engineering of producer James Ford, as well as the fact that all three singers have similar sounding voices, making the disparity between songs much less noticeable. And one can say the same regarding the lyrical approach to the album as well, as all three singers play with a version of the anecdotal storytelling Isaac Wood introduced in his songwriting. The record's bright and amiable feel is often contrasted with darker themes immediately present on the first song, Besties, where Georgia Ellery uses some pretty cute wordplay to explain the unfortunate falling in love with your best friend trope. Themes of loneliness and social needs connect each writer's individual stories, forming a nice little world you could see each of these characters participating in without one another's knowledge. Tyler Hyde explores the dangers of gossip on Salem Sisters, comparing modern slander to the Salem witch trials of the late
17th century.
Before Georgia Ellery describes a sweet but possibly delusional Don Quixote-esque love ballad on two horses, and Hyde again reinforces the human need for connection and worth on the anti-bullying track Mary, and the non-guarantees of financial privilege on Happy Birthday. Hyde and Ellery keep their imagery quite simple, but continue to add to the album's growing sense of whimsy and wonder within the human psyche, and I think explains this the best on the 8th track for The Cold Country, providing some classic romanticism aesthetics while telling the tale of a knight driven to isolation and regret after questioning the purpose of the wars and battles he spent his whole life seeking glory in. This ends in an existential conclusion that is echoed on the darkest track of the album, Nancy Tries to Take the Night, where the narrator, Nancy, is driven to suicide after regretting her recklessness that resulted in an unplanned pregnancy and either an abortion or miscarriage. It's moments like these that create a pretty powerful contrast, as the music itself comforts you and brings you closer to hearing these tragic tales that ultimately remind you of the twisted and often manipulated need for human connection. Now, of course, it's not all doom and gloom for BCNR here. There is some humor and meta references in the writing, like the chorus on Socks, and the album finishes with the succinct Goodbye Don't Tell Me, where Georgia Ellery seems to really find love, whether it's a person or just the feeling of not being alone. All this goes to show BCNR has no lack of meaningful ideas on this new record, and it makes for a nuanced listening experience. Like I said before, the more leisure movements and a lack of gusto in a lot of the progressions dull the overall cadence of the record, but it's just ultimately great to see Black Country New Road continue to evolve the windmill scene sound they largely founded through a refreshing mix of delicate Baroque pop and crisp progressives. So, with everything on the table, I'm thinking a 7.5 out of 10 for Forever Howlong. The best tracks here are pretty easily Two Horses for The Cold Country and the tragic Nancy Tries to Take the Night. And alright, that will do it for this short review of the new Black Country New Road record. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you haven't heard the record, give it a shot and let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, you can also recommend any other artists or album that you would like me to cover on this channel in the future. And with that, this has been Black Country New Road, Music Canon, and I will see you in the next one.